Welcome back to Conversations on Deck, and today is Manager Monday, folks. We're looking at this George Lee, otherwise known as Sparky Anderson card, 1984 Topps. Sparky was born February 22nd, 1934 in Bridgewater, South Dakota. That's where he got his eyebrows too. And I got his nickname from, an announcer in the minors. Isn't that cool? An announcer gave him that nickname. That happens a lot. Well, his family still called him George, but in baseball, he was known as Sparky. And he was the first manager to win a World Series in both leagues. He won 75-76 with the Reds, and then the Tigers in the American League. So that's kind of cool. Other people have done it since. Tony La Russa is one of them. So let's look at Sparky's Tigers from 1984. They were first in the AL East, actually in the East. That's what it was just called, and 104-58 record. The AL championships, they defeated Kansas City 3-0, and then in the World Series they defeated the San Diego Padres 4-1. Now it's interesting because Dick Williams was managing the San Diego Padres. If the Padres won, Dick Williams would have been the first to win a World Series in both the American and National League. But the honors went to Sparky Anderson. All right, let's look at some of these guys on his team. Quite the cast of players. He had Lance Parrish at catcher, who was an all-star, Gold Glover, Silver Slugger. Dave Bergman at first. He was just Dave Bergman. Sweet Lou Whitaker at second, all-star, Gold Glover, Silver Slugger. Alan Trammell, shortstop, all-star, Gold Glover. Howard Johnson, just regular Howard Johnson, like those restaurants where we used to eat fish on Friday as kids. And then Larry Herndon in left field. Chet Lemon in center field. He was an all-star. Reggie's got some good Chet Lemon stories. And Kirk Gibson, right field. Darrell Evans as DH. Now, he had quite the lineup of starting pitchers, too. I just picked two of them. Jack Morris, 19-11. He was an all-star. Then Dan Petrie went 18-8. Then his closer, the great Willie Hernandez. He had 32 saves that season. 9-3 record. Led both leagues in games, 80 games for a pitcher, and 68 game finishes. Man, now I'm telling you, that is quite an accomplishment. All right, so let's look a little bit for some Sparky wisdom here. I love this wisdom, and this is from his dad. Quote, "Being nice to people is the only thing in life that never costs a dime." And when you think about it, that's true, 100%. 100%. Being nice. I was just talking to some 6th, 7th, and 8th graders last week, and I said, man, our rule book and things like that, it's just basically being nice to each other, loving one another as God has loved us. And it doesn't take much effort to be nice. So that'd be the challenge for all of us, is be nice to somebody. And I love the concept too of Sparky's nickname. I think about it, and I was saying this in my Instagram video, is, I remember having nicknames. My dad called me Cricker. My first name's Christopher. One of my neighbors, she called me Christopher Robin. My mom called me Scraps. I had a lot of nicknames here because I would eat anything, and I'd eat seconds, thirds, whatever was left over. And I got a couple of friends who call me CG. That's my initials. And a couple other friends from college that call me Toffer. And so, anyways, those are some of my nicknames. I love the concept of nicknames. Would love to hear what some of your nicknames are as well. All right, so I mentioned that Sparky had won the World Series in '84. I'll tell you, that was a super big relief for him. I was reading an article where it said that, people had given him a hard time because he had won 75 and 76 with the Big Red Machine. And then after 78, he got jettisoned from the Reds, and he didn't feel appreciated. And this is what he said in 84, after the 84 championship, okay? Quote, when the Tigers won in 84, I finally felt vindicated. It wasn't until years after that, though, before I released all the bitterness I should never have allowed to creep into my mind in the first place, end quote. You know what the key there, right there? He released the bitterness. How many of us have bitterness towards somebody or some organization? I'm in a family of 10 kids. We're not perfect, but there's bitterness in our family. And why hang on to it? Think about your work, okay? Your boss makes you do something, or a coworker or whatever. Yeah, I get it. I get being emotional at first or snarky, but you got to just let it go. Don't let somebody else steal your joy. Don't let somebody else make you feel anxious. Don't let somebody else make you feel bitter when you think about them or situations. And I'll tell you, as a principal, I got to let a lot of stuff go because it's just not worth it. People are going to get their digs in, fine, if that makes you happy, but I'm not going to let it prevent me from enjoying my family, enjoying my friends, enjoying this hobby. All right, so last thing I wanted to share with Sparky Anderson is he was a devout Catholic, and I didn't know that. And he actually met the Pope back in 1987, Pope John Paul II, which is cool. Now, at that time, I remember Pope John Paul II when, he became Pope before that, but boy, he was just a icon in the world. I mean, he was the first Pope to come out, I think he came out of Poland, and he was just a pretty amazing guy. Well, when Sparky, I can't remember how old he turned, like 60 or something like that, his local, church affiliation wanted to get him a signed baseball by the Pope. So they sent a baseball over to the Pope, and Sparky had no idea. And the Pope signed it in 1993, on June 26, 1993. Here's Sparky telling a little bit about that story. Quote, when the Pope was asked to sign it, he asked, "What's baseball?" When he was told, he went ahead and autographed it. I'll guarantee you, it's the only baseball around autographed by a Pope. It's a one of a kind, end quote. And it truly is, because what Sparky did is when he got elected into the Baseball Hall of Fame in 2000, when he went to go, they always invite the players to check out the hall, see their plaque, and, all that kind of stuff, and, do all the photo op before the official, ceremonies and all that. Sparky brought that ball in a Ziploc bag. And he did that because he didn't want one of his kids taking it at home, bringing it to a souvenir shop or something like that. So he donated that to the Hall of Fame. On the ball, it's written in Latin, "To Sparky with blessing." And then Pope John Paul II signed it. Here's my question for you. How many of us have a baseball that's been signed by somebody in a Ziploc bag? I think we all have, that concept. I'm just pulling right out here, okay? And sure enough, this is I think this is a Mark. I'm not even sure who signed this. It might be like, I don't know. It's a Rawlings baseball, but somebody signed it. Somebody gave me it, and we got it in a plastic bag. So, yeah, that's kind of what we do. We keep things in plastic bags, and that was Sparky Anderson. So I had a lot of fun with this Manager Monday. So hit like if you enjoyed this. Hit subscribe. Actually, smash that subscribe button. I'm just about at 100. And if you know somebody who's not subscribing or hasn't seen my videos, share it with them. Tell them about it. I think it's a fun channel, and I hope you do too. Have a great Manager Monday.